of wishful thinking type stuff. It's not as filthy as the stuff I saw that was purportedly coming from the right. And I don't think a lot of that was actually coming from the right. I think it was coming from outside sources like Macedonian teenagers, for example. But there has been more from the left. So the left is grabbing this concept of fake news and using it to build their narrative that Donald Trump is an inept, that he's in collusion with our enemies, that he's incapable of making rational decisions. And, of course, he doesn't really have the heart of America at heart. He's got his own thing going on. And we know that the establishment on both sides, whatever that thing is, they don't like it. Stay with us. We got to go to break here. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. There is an old saying, children should be seen but not heard. At no time is this more apparent than when politicians speak. TheConservativeSyndicate.net, the adult in the room. Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. History affirms a vibrant civil society thrives on freedom of conscience, religion, and choice. Any society absent these qualities stifles individual responsibility and accountability, thus enslaving its people by denying them their potential for goodness, creativity, and altruism. To that extent, oppression, coercion, and totalitarianism are multiplied exponentially. To counter such outcomes, the American Freedom Alliance was formed. The AFA is a nonpartisan, non-aligned movement which promotes, defends, and upholds Western values and ideals. The Alliance strives to build an international coalition of citizens of the West who together promote and protect moral values, democracy, and freedom. To find out more and become part of this valuable asset in the preservation of freedom and all its rewards, contact us at AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. That's AmericanFreedomAlliance.org. Let freedom ring. Now back to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. All right, we're back. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, along with Joe Hakos, who should be back with us on Monday. All right, back into this, because I've got about 6-7 minutes here left in the show. This is Friday, so we always have our special segment, closing segment on Friday. But I want to go a little bit farther with this fake news agenda, or this movement, phenomenon. That's it, fake news phenomenon that's going on right now all across this country. Began during the last election cycle. Not sure I could pinpoint an exact time, but I think it more revolved around how the polls were playing. That was one of the big fake news items that was constantly resurfacing. And then, of course, the downplaying of the WikiLeaks by the left is everything is fabricated. And just, the entire accusations that were made against all of the presidential nominees, especially on the Republican side, like, for instance, I remember the accusations that Ted Cruz's father was in the plot to assassinate John Kennedy, things like that. Yeah, that's the literal meaning of fake news, a made-up story. But when we talk about the fake news as I see it, it's much a broader application, much broader definition, and that's any fabricated story that feeds any narrative that is being advanced by anybody, whether it be the left or the right or in the middle or, whatever, okay? It's not exclusive to the left. It's just the left has seized it as a viable strategy to try to delegitimize Donald Trump over the next 4 years in hopes that they can find somebody to throw up their next time around that will unseat Donald Trump and put the balance of power back into on their side, where the Republicans can just silently collude again, rather than now actually try to look like they're governing while they're colluding, that kind of thing. That's what's going on. All right. And I mentioned this article in Snopes, about the editor, Brooke Bukowski, talking about the fact that she's seen a major uptick in the number of fake news stories that are coming out of the left. And she categorizes it of dubious news, wishful thinking type stuff. Okay, meaning that and that's the way, isn't that the way the left operates? It's all wishful thinking. Their entire ideology is founded on wishful thinking, utopian concepts that have no real basis for ever coming to pass, because humanity is fallible. And, the idea that if we just regulate and rule and have enough laws and enough regulations, and at the same time be completely tolerant of everything that's going on, somehow we'll balance this out, we'll become utopian. And it's not going to happen. Never going to happen. Never going to happen. Not this side of heaven. It's not going to happen. Now, I want to go a little bit farther here, because to give you some examples of what I mean, misstatement of facts or taking things out of context. 16 fake news stories that have run since Trump won. And this was published by the Federalist, Daniel Payne, which, by the way, this entire article is actually under attack by the left as being just another act of desperation by the right, by those on the right, as to trying to blame the left for everything, okay? 16 fake news stories reporters have run since Trump won. I'm not going through all 16. I'm going to pick the ones that stick out to me, the ones that I think we've spent time actually talking about on this show. Some of them are not worth mentioning. But let me read just first couple of paragraphs of this article to give you some context to what we're saying here. Since at least Donald Trump's election, our media have been in the grip of an astonishing self-inflicted crisis. Despite Trump's constant railing against the American press, there is no greater enemy of the American media than the American media. They did this to themselves. We are in the midst of an epidemic of fake news. There is no better word to describe it than epidemic, insofar as it fits the epidemiological model from the Centers for Disease Control. The phenomenon occurs when an agent and susceptible host are present in adequate numbers, and the agent can be effectively conveyed from a source to the susceptible host. The agent in this case is hysteria over Trump's presidency, and the susceptible hosts are a slipshod, reckless, and breathtakingly gullible media class that spread the hysteria around like a virus. Now, some of the things that have been going on here. Pandering. Again, pandering is a lot of what drives fake news, especially coming from the left. There was a story that after Trump was elected on November 8th, rumors began circulating that multiple transgender teenagers had killed themselves in response to the election results. Now, in and of itself, I never heard Donald Trump say anything about the homosexual community at all. So that in and of itself should have been a red light to people that there might be something more to this than there actually is. What they found out was it was not true at all. Elizabeth Nolan Brown at Reason ran multiple online databases to try to determine the identities or even the existence of allegedly suicidal youth. She found nothing. Teenagers in 2016 don't just die without anyone who knew them so much as mentioning their death online for days afterwards. All right? So there was virtually nothing going on here. Now, the point being is that this thing got tweeted more than 13,000 times by The Guardian, Pink News, which I guess is that Pink Society, the crazy ladies that run around in pink, protesting every single thing. 12,000 shares on Facebook. At Mike Magazine, Matthew Rodriguez wrote about the allegations, and it was reported, it was shared more than 55,000 times on Facebook. Snopes wrote a report on the rumors and listed them as unconfirmed rather than false. That's why I said I don't always give Snopes a lot of credibility. Snopes' sources were Facebook posts. Okay, there you go. When you can't find sources, go to Facebook. So the one that caught my eye right off the top here, I will share this one. We'll get back on this on Monday because we're coming out of time here. On November 22nd, Gabriel Sherman posted a bombshell report at New York Magazine claiming that a group of prominent computer scientists and election lawyers were demanding a recount in 3 separate states because of persuasive evidence that the election results in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania may have been manipulated or hacked. The evidence? Apparently, in Wisconsin, Clinton received 7% fewer votes in counties that relied on electronic voting machines compared with counties that used optical scanners and paper ballots. You know what they found out? It was that those particular districts were heavily Republican districts. They weren't Clintonite districts. And that's why the disproportionate number of voters, and that's what happened. Okay? That was it. But it got retweeted out there, and it set off this whole false narrative that there was voter fraud, that were actually changing ballots. And that's what Jill Stein was out there, even though she was denying it. She was walking point, and she raised a lot of money doing it. But even 538, one of the most respected polling places, according even to the left, Nate Silver explained that it was demographics. It was not hacking. There was a heavily Republican demographics where the electronic machines were at. And therefore, that's what caused it. All right? So, anyway, there we have it. There we have it. Those are all I'm going to be able to get to right now because, in fact, I'm not even going to be able to do our special closing because we're running out of time here.